Hello, and welcome to Wayland's Wisdom. I'll start off with a quote today, one I came up with many years ago. If I am to die today, what will people say of me? But more importantly, what will God know of me? Now, I don't wish to explain quotes too much, but I believe this one is worth explaining. It's very simple. When you're gone, what do you leave behind? What will your friends and your family say about you at your funeral and when they remember you after you've gone? But more importantly, what will you and God know of you? Now, if you don't believe in God, you can replace that. You can replace it with your wife, if you're particularly close with her, your best friend, if you're particularly close with them, or your husband, if you are a lady. If you believe that there is an afterlife, and there are people or beings or someone there who will know exactly what went through your head throughout your life, what will they know of you? Now imagine if you will, when you reach the afterlife, and there is this being there that knows everything that you've ever done and every thought you've ever had. And imagine that they were not an altruistic being. They were not charitable and kind, but instead rather jealous and a gossip. What will they know to say about you to your ancestors? Or furthermore, what will your ancestors know of you and your thoughts, if you believe that they are privy to that information? Now, this is to say, or to drill into you, that it is important to have a decent and honest mind. I'm not saying that I possess a decent and honest mind, but it is important to practice keeping a decent and honest mind. One which does not scheme all the time, one which does not hate, one which does not become jealous, one which does not torture, and one which does not fantasize in grotesque and sinful ways. It is best to practice keeping these thoughts at bay, or to even perhaps think through them and think why you're thinking them. Do you enjoy these thoughts, these vain or unbecoming thoughts? Do you instead feel as though you've been plagued by them? And think through them to see if there is a consistent pattern which will tell you why you're having these thoughts. You should be contemplative when you think through these things. Do not enjoy them, but rather delve into exactly why it is you're having them. Are you disturbed by something? Are you angered by something? Are you excited by something? It's very easy to say, don't think these things, or keep a clear mind. But it's very difficult to actually do those things. And so I wish to impart onto you a certain wisdom, and that is, do not think yourself completely abhorrent if you are plagued with intrusive thoughts, but do think yourself abhorrent if you actively enjoy them and welcome them, or even if you act on them. I wish to demolish this cake in front of me, but it'd be best if I do not do it, so I shall not do it. Because if I were to demolish a cake in front of me, whether by eating it or by destroying it, well, if I eat it, I'll become fat and unhealthy. I'll possibly even be sick in that moment. And if I destroy it, well, then there is no cake to enjoy. And if I do either of those things, I have trained my mind. I have said to myself, it's okay to act on that urge, either to be a glutton or to be wrathful. It is good sometimes to act on impulse in a healthy way. You're angry, so you step outside. You calm down after you've taken a breather, and you step back inside and deal with the problem. It is better to leave a situation and come back to it clear-headed than carry on that situation filled with wrath. It is better when filled with lust and passion to again remove yourself from the situation, take a breather, and come back clear-headed. For you may find yourself committing adultery, or you may find yourself committing a crime. Having the ability to step out of a situation and come back. I've not known any person who can simply remove a thought from their mind, for if they were able to do that, they would never sin. But you must practice whenever you are feeling particularly primal or desirous to step away, calm down, and return. Even if you are unable to physically step away, stepping away in your head and returning to the situation. There has been a rather strange effort, primarily amongst men, to regain some kind of primal instinct. Now, I would advocate for some of these methods that are expressed amongst some groups who promote them, but not all of them, and not in their entirety, and not either in their foundation. It is good sometimes to, in a certain point at a specific time, to work through and to find these primal desires and instincts, and to mould them into being a civilized man. There's been a rather concerted effort again to degrade civilization, because as we now live possibly in the twilight of a civilization, we've seen that certain aspects of civilization are sinful, abhorrent, or simply do not work. But it is good for a tribe of people to be civilized compared to the animalistic neighbours they have. When Romans would write about tribes of Gauls and Germanians, they would praise those who were civilized and degrade those who were not. And you would see prosperity in the civilized tribes compared to the animalistic ones. The civilized tribes often having metals, and the animalistic ones having bone and stone. You see, there are benefits to being civilized, and perhaps there are benefits to being somewhat animalistic. But you have to find the difference between being justly civilized and unjustly animalistic, and vice versa. You see, in this civilization, there are many ways in which people act which I find abhorrent, but are praised as being part of the civilization by the elites within it. And I will not partake in these actions. I will not take drugs, and I will not get drunk every week. These are often considered animalistic or primal ways of being, in which you can live somewhat free within a civilization. But in a primal, primitive tribe, they are not taking drugs for recreation. They are not getting drunk for recreation. They are doing so for transcendence. The tribes of Germania would drink mead, not as a common thing, but as a religious thing, the way in which Christians drink wine, though for different reasons. They were not getting high off of quite rare mushrooms, many of which do not even exist in Europe, and didn't at the time. But there are ways in which you can intertwine civility and uh, primitivism to create a much more civilized and moral way of being, rather than debauchery or complete abstinence from anything which is enjoyable. There are peaks in human civilization. There are peaks in technology. There are peaks in morality. And there are peaks in justice. There are peaks in resources. And there are even peaks in transcendence and religion. And the peak in which we are at today is in technology. There is no peak in religion or transcendence amongst the general population. There is no peak in morality, for we have twisted morality and demolished it completely. There is no peak in justice, for so many horrible creatures are left uncaged. But we have a peak in technology, and we look at this goal and we think, well, we are at the height of civilization. But many of us know that this is only a very, very surface issue. And we say as much. So when you have in your life met the end, or are meeting the end, and you have seen that your only peak has been surface level, you then know more of you than others will say of you. And God will know that you have not been transcendent. He'll know what has been going on in your mind, that there has been no peak of morality, there has been no peak of religiosity, there has been no peak of justice. There has merely been peak of a surface level issue. And that surface level issue may be all that your friends and family will ever know or speak of you. This is why it's so important to keep in mind this simple phrase: if I am to die today, what will people say of me? But more importantly, what will God know of me? Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.